Most people dream of peace when they retire. Some buy RVs, some take cruises, and some, like me, buy a quiet piece of land with a lake to fish on. I didn't expect to spend my retirement dealing with an HOA that thought my lake was their personal playground. My property wasn't fancy. A 2-bedroom cabin, 40 acres of woods, and a spring-fed lake that my grandfather dug decades ago. The lake was the heart of the land, deep, clear, cold, and shockingly full of bass. I'd fish at sunrise, grill at sunset, and that was my life. Or it was, until the lakeside crest HOA expanded. Chapter 1. You should share the lake with the community. One day, as I was patching up the old dock, a woman in a lavender pantsuit strutted up my driveway like she owned the place. Clipboard, sunglasses, the whole HOA uniform. "You must be Mr. Dalton," she said cheerfully. "I'm Carol, president of the Lakeside Crest HOA." I nodded slowly. "This isn't part of Lakeside Crest." "Oh, we know," she chirped. "But we're expanding community amenities, and your lake is centrally located relative to our newest development." I frowned. "My lake. Sure, for now," she said with a dismissive wave. "But the community would love shared access. Families, paddle boats, barbecues, it'll increase property values for everyone." "For everyone except me," I replied. Her smile cracked a little. "Well, the HOA board voted to integrate your lake into our long-term plan. You can't vote on something you don't own." She inhaled sharply, like I was being unreasonable. "We're trying to be cooperative. You can either sign a joint use agreement or we'll proceed with development and let the courts resolve ownership." I almost laughed. "Go ahead, try." She smiled again, too wide. "Wonderful. You'll hear from us soon." I did. Chapter 2. Construction begins. I woke up to chainsaws. Not on my land, but close. Too close. I drove my ATV to the tree line and stared in disbelief. The HOA had fenced off a large portion of their side of the property, ripped out trees, flattened earth, and built a long wooden boardwalk that stretched almost to the water. Workers were installing pylons. Into the lake. "My lake. You can't drill there," I shouted. The foreman shrugged. "HOA says this lake is public community water. They're building a floating restaurant." "A what?" "A floating restaurant. You know, upscale dining on the lake. Big money." They said homeowners are excited. I clenched my jaw. "Get your equipment out of my lake." "Not my call," he said. "Take it up with the HOA." And oh, I did. Chapter 3. It's already approved. I marched into the HOA office that afternoon. Carol greeted me with a fake smile. "Mr. Dalton, come to sign the joint use agreement. You're building a restaurant on my lake." "A community floating restaurant," she corrected. "You didn't ask for access." "We don't need to. The county map from the 1970s labels the lake as water feature. That means shared aesthetic value, and we can claim communal easement. My grandfather dug that lake with a bulldozer. It's man-made." She shrugged. "Can't confirm that." "Then stop building." She clasped her hands. "The HOA has already invested $600,000. It's too late to reverse course. But don't worry, we'll offer you a 10% discount on meals." I stared at her. "A discount," I repeated. "Generous, right?" I walked out without a word. Because while she was smugly smiling, she didn't know what I knew. The HOA's water feature claim depended on one thing: the lake staying full. And that lake, every drop of it, came from my spring. A spring I fully controlled. Chapter 4. The floating restaurant opens. By midsummer, the HOA's monstrosity was complete. A giant white pavilion floated on. Steel pontoons, with neon lights, a deck, and lake view dining. HOA residents raved about it. Cars lined up for photos. Canoes paddled over. Music echoed across the water all day. Every evening, I watched HOA guests sit on my lake, sipping wine, taking selfies, laughing on property they didn't own. Carol even had the nerve to wave at me from the deck during their grand opening. "Lovely turnout, Mr. Dalton. You should try the lobster bisque." I smiled and waved back. Because everything was almost ready. Chapter 5. Midnight operation. The HOA thought the lake was natural. They thought it was permanent. They thought I was powerless. But the lake existed because of a concrete drainage valve buried near the old pump house. My grandfather installed it in the 1960s to control water level for irrigation. And I still had the key. At midnight, after every HOA resident had gone home, I grabbed my flashlight, walked to the pump house, opened the rusted hatch, and turned the steel wheel. It groaned. It squealed. It shuddered like it hadn't moved in ages. And then, the lake began to drain. Slow at first, then steadily, then rapidly. A low, thunderous sucking sound echoed across the water as the level dropped inch by inch. I sat in my lawn chair, sipped coffee, and watched the show. By dawn, the floating restaurant was no longer floating. It sat crooked, half sunken in mud, tilted like a beached whale. By 9 a.m., HOA residents were screaming. Chapter 6, HOA Meltdown. I was fixing a fence when I heard the commotion. Oh my God, someone shrieked. Is it sinking? What happened to the water? Who drained the lake? Carol stormed onto my property like a rabid flamingo. What did you do? She screeched. I smiled politely. Morning. You drained the lake. Did I? The restaurant is stuck in the mud. The pontoons are damaged. The whole place is ruined. I shrugged. That sounds expensive. Refill the water now. Can't. Valves jammed. Unjam it. Not my problem. Her face turned purple. This lake is essential community property. Prove it, I said calmly. We will. The HOA board will sue. Oh good, I replied. Because I'd love to show the court the deed, the photos, and the engineering records proving this lake is artificial, privately built, and fully owned by me. She froze. You have documentation. All of it. She opened and closed her mouth like a fish flopping in mud, just like her restaurant. Chapter 7. The county steps in. By afternoon, county officials arrived. The HOA had tried reporting me for destruction of communal property. I handed the inspector every document, the land survey, the lake construction plans, the original spring rights, everything. He read through them slowly. So the lake is entirely on your property? Yes. And the HOA began construction without an easement? Yes. And they didn't get environmental clearance for pylons? Nope. He sighed deeply. This is going to be a nightmare for them. Best words I'd heard all year. He taped a giant red stop work violation notice on the restaurant's deck. Carol nearly fainted. Chapter 8. The lawsuit that backfired. The HOA still sued me. And I countersued. My lawyer was a shark. Their lawyer looked like he practiced law on weekends behind a grocery store. In court, everything fell apart for the HOA. They had no deed, no easement, no permission, no environmental permits, no rights to the lake. The judge nearly laughed. So, he said, adjusting his glasses, you built a $600,000 floating restaurant on a lake you don't own. Carol mumbled something like, we thought. You thought wrong, the judge said. Judgment for the defendant. Then he turned to me. Mr. Dalton, do you wish to pursue damages? I smiled. Absolutely. I sued for trespassing, illegal construction, destruction of natural shoreline, unauthorized use of private water, and violation of riparian rights. Total, $2.4 million. The HOA panicked. Homeowners rioted. Board members resigned. 4 months later, the settlement came through. They paid me $1.8 million, dismantled the entire restaurant, removed every pylon, replanted every tree, and restored the shore under county supervision. The lake refilled slowly through winter. And it was mine again. Chapter 9. Final visit from Carol. One gray morning, as workers hauled away the last pieces of the destroyed restaurant, Carol came to me. No suit, no clipboard, just defeat. Mr. Dalton, she said softly. We'd like to propose peace. I leaned on my cane. You want something? No, she whispered. We want nothing. The HOA will never come near your land again. We deeply apologize. I nodded. Good. She hesitated. One more thing. Will the lake ever fill back up? I smiled. Already did. Her eyes widened. But how? You drained it overnight, I reminded her. You can fill it the same way. She opened her mouth, confused. I winked. I fixed the valve. Epilogue. Sunrise on my lake. The lake sparkled again. Bass returned. Birds nested. I rebuilt my dock, planted new trees, and spent my mornings on the water with a thermos of coffee and absolute peace. Every once in a while, A new Lakeside Crest homeowner would wander too close, curious about the lake that disappeared. They'd ask, "What really happened?" I just smile and say, "HOA tried to claim what wasn't theirs." So I reminded them who owns the water. And I cast my line, watching the ripples spread across the lake. My lake, quiet, calm, and HOA free forever. Dash dash dash.